to break down that victory by Coast.
Thanks, Freak. I'm James Patterson, struggling to pronounce my own name here. It's already been a long day. And alongside me are Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kensler, and our special guest analyst for this series, Complexity's coach, Kubz Barless. Welcome, man.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
Now, let's jump right into that game because I want to talk about the fact that Coast is looking back in form. After stumbling a bit yesterday, dropping 0-2 to Team 8, they seem to have turned it around. So are we looking for kind of a landslide victory here?
I mean, yeah, yesterday, after being criticized pretty heavily for their temerity, they definitely fixed a lot of their problems today. And after watching that game, though, actually, I can see where all the confidence and people talking about Coast sort of overlooking their opponents came from, because they all individually looked very strong.
Yeah, a big thing is Coast hadn't lost until yesterday. Those are the first two losses they've gotten in Challenger. And I previously coached Golden Rule and Santorin. So just knowing those two, the ability they have to bounce back is really huge. And I'm pretty sure they talked to the team, calmed them down, were like, guys, you know what, we still have a chance at this. Let's go out there and play our best. And they just dominated that game.
Let's look at the picks then here between these two teams, because LoL Pro chose to go with Zillion, Ka, Rise, Corki, Mundo, some decent lanes, and then they pulled the lane swap to try and utilize that experience advantage that they get from Zillion, but it didn't seem to work out. So what went wrong in Champion Select?
Honestly, with Champion Select, like the first pick Ziggs was kind of something I kind of saw coming once Tristana was banned, because Coast has actually first picked Tristana blue side, I think every game it's been available. So LoL Pro did the right thing of taking it away, and so Golden gets Ziggs. And then they take Rise for what I thought was the Nidalee lane. And then they send Rise mid, Mundo top, and they swap because Mundo does better in the lane swap. What ended up happening, though, is they went back to standard lanes, and just on a mechanical level, Coast took all the outer towers. Nunu had a lot of jungle pressure in the side lanes to help, and Golden just kind of did really well mid that game. So Coast just mechanically outplayed, and it was a really good start for them.
There was a small window where LoL Pro had a little bit of an advantage, though.
Yeah.
I want to bring up one clip where they did make a good play, taking advantage of backing windows of Team Coast. So let's pull this dragon up on your screen. So they timed this aggression because they see the bottom lane backing. Santorin's going to back right now. Let's roll this clip through. They saw him just go back into the jungle, and then the bottom lane is going to leave pretty shortly. Oh, the mid lane as well. Ziggs is already back at base. That's what it is. And they take advantage. It's a good job. Working around these windows is something that a lot of teams plan around. They plan their plans ahead of time. However, you know, sometimes it just kind of falls into your lap, and you see, oh, happens that the jungler was low, going back into his jungle at the same time that our mid lane is forced back.
Yeah, there was actually the first blood that came off of that, and I think there was going to be a clip that we were going to show about that, but
yeah,
what ended up happening there is you get that dragon, and so at least it's a situation where they kept themselves in the game off of the lane swap, and it was really good because the game was actually even at that point, and up until that first blood, I think they did fine.
Well, they also, I think they recognized the fact that they had some burst potential to take down that dragon with the isolation Q damage from the Kazakhs on the dragon, as well as Corki, who early game has a fair amount of damage potential, so they could take that dragon without fear of too much interference. But as you said, Kubz, they had a first blood follow right after this. So this is an example of Coast kind of taking control of the game back. So we're going to pull that clip up here. It's about 9:30 into the game, if you don't mind kind of walking us through what Coast did here to capitalize.
Yeah, so before anything, the big thing is Heaven Time's low, and he's on a ward, which came down from Santorin's Sightstone. So if we go ahead and roll the clip here, they see him walk into the red area, and at this point, either he's doing the red buff or he's backing. So Santorin's like, okay, I'm just going to walk in, get a ward down, and see what's happening on the red buff. He ends up running into Heaven Time here, and because Golden is already in rotation, Heaven Time tries to exit, out comes Ziggs with everything, and First Blood goes down. Golden Glue gets double buffs off of that, and it just becomes a very hard lane to handle if you're Rise.
Yeah, you can't talk too much about the importance of ward control with Nunu. This is the most important thing with him. You should always have 3 wards down if you're playing jungle Nunu in that early game for plays just like that.
Well, so you end up with the double Sightstone. He actually finished the Sightstone before he even built anything out of his machete. On LoL Pro, though, when you see that they're getting all this vision out, but you don't really have the option early game to clear the vision, how do you play around that knowing that they know where you're at?
It's hard because not only did they have the Nunu, But they ended up getting the lanes that pressured really early. And when you have that early pressure and you take down those tier 1s, you basically have to sacrifice your jungle because Coast is able at this point when the tier 1s are down to just walk in to LoLPro's jungle and get all the vision. So it's about getting sweepers, getting safe pink wards, and scrapping for what you can get. Now, LoLPro had a really late game scaling comp, so they could have stalled this game out if they had better vision control in their own jungle once they lost their tier 1s. But because Coast was able to kind of control the vision game, specifically the red side jungle, it was really easy for them to make rotations and get the fights and the kills they needed to snowball.
It's also really hard for LoLPro to style it out against Ziggs and Lucian when they have like Ryze and maybe Corki for their wave clear, which are mediocre, especially mid game.
That wave clear is not what you need. Like I know for us when we were in the LCS last split, we would play games with like Ori and Corki, and it's like a lot of wave clear in case that situation happened. But when you have Ryze, Corki, Mundo, it's like where's your wave clear? Like Corki Q, and I guess when Ryze ults. So it's like very hard to stall that game out when you have such a late scaling composition.
All right, so let's look towards the next game because LoLPro, they've got some work to do if they plan on turning this series around. So let's try and pinpoint a couple of specifics. I know vision control was one if they're behind, but do they need to go for maybe an earlier game comp and not try and scale late?
Well, okay, so heading into game 2, like they have to do their best to first off forget that game because those games happen. Like if anyone thinks the series is over, like it's far from, because to get those 2 more wins for Coast is going to take a lot. So for LoLPro, I think you ban away the Ziggs because Golden, first off, is a very good Ziggs. And second of all, Coast actually banned away Alistar and Maokai. So to me, that tells me Rux isn't going to play those champions. And so you ban away the Ziggs because it's a free ban. And then you pick what you prioritize as a team, which is Tristana, if it's open. And from there, you pick, I know Hanser's a Shyvana Mundo player. He can stick to those picks. And mid lane, I want to see the Yasuo. It might not get through, but then he has Syndra, Zed. I want to see Lot on the Assassin this game. I think if he can split push, he can make the mechanical outplays, and he can kind of carry them back into the series.
All right, so it looks like we're looking at champion select for them to kind of remedy some of the issues that they're having. Well, our team is pinging us for a commercial break, but when we return, it's Game 2 between Team LoLPro and Team Coast, with the final spot in the Spring Promotion Tournament on the line. You won't want to miss it.
Try again. Good set of hits on his signature, and now can they get the damage they need to kill him? Oh, what a beautiful bubble, but Toy can't ult him. That is 1 kill picked up. Looks like they can take top lane tier 2 and more forward on the bot lane. The crits come out for Mash, and that is a dominating Lucian now. Jumps on forward, flashes, but Toy goes as well. Looking so good in game 1. The flash engage, 2-man bubble, big damage from Mash. In comes Rux as well. The AD carry goes down. No, Hanser is being chased out. Lot low on HP. Mash wants this fight, but a mid lane Ryze does some decent damage. The engage comes across. They can't quite get him. Lot might just go down. A great tidal wave, and Mash claims another one.